The Edmonton Oilers and GM Ken Holland are apparently in the market to move one of their goalies, and what better team to fill in that eventual missing goalie spot than the Montreal Canadiens? We'll be talking about a potential Oilers-Habs trade, plus Lane Hutson is having a historic season with him outpacing Norris Trophy winner Adam Fox in many categories. That plus much more on this episode of Habs Digest. But before we get into the video, we are proud to announce that this video is sponsored by Rentals.ca. Guys, Habs hockey is back. As you know, the Canadiens are moving into a new era with new stars, new prospects, and a whole new excitement from the fan base. And if you feel like you want the same sort of excitement in your own life instead of your old white-tiled life, it's time to move for you as well. And it's never been easier than with Rentals.ca.
That's because Rentals.ca's got you covered coast to coast across this beautiful country, whether it's condos, whether it's houses, whether it's apartments. What's so great about them, why you should check them out, is that their website's really easy to use. You can just look for the city that you're really looking for, find the neighborhood there, and really find great, listings right there. So if this is sounding good, what we're saying right now, then now is the time to move.
It sure is. And as you guys know, we love Rentals.ca here. We truly believe in the product. We have used the product. It helped me get this apartment. And if it's time to move for you, you're looking to spice up your life, check out Rentals.ca in the description or the pinned comment down below and let them know that we sent you. Jesse, let's dive into this video. The first thing we want to talk about is an awesome quote from Coach Marty talking about Slafkovsky's development. Now, in today's little session, he was asked, do you think Juraj Slafkovsky puts too much pressure on himself? And this is a long screenshot, but bear with me. You can pause to read it if you like, but I'll try and summarize it. He basically says, yeah, it's not easy for a 19-year-old, but he says, like, do you guys use Waze? When you're going somewhere, do you use Waze? Talking about maps. It basically said, like, when you put a location in the maps and you hit traffic, what happens to your time? Does it go up? Does it go down? What happens if you miss an exit? Do you get frustrated and turn around? No, you just keep going down the path. You'll get there. Maybe it's a bit later than you wanted, or maybe you're early. It doesn't matter. But he basically says that he doesn't know where he's heading, but he knows it's going to be to a good place. And it's hard for a young guy to be in traffic sometimes and miss that exit. But everyone hits traffic and misses exits. It's not easy for a 19-year-old, but we're trying to help him with that. I don't know if Coach Marty was sponsored by Waze to say this. I mean, I use Google Maps. I know a lot of people use Apple Maps. Waze, who knows why Coach Marty's using Waze? But Jesse, I just thought this was a really, really fun analogy and something that really rings true for a lot of young prospects.
It's so good. Like, trust, Martin St. Louis to just find like the perfect analogy every single time. And I think it helped me realize like why Marty St. Louis is such a great coach. And that's because he's a good teacher. Yeah. He's an amazing teacher. Like, being an amazing hockey player, I'm sure it kind of helps, being a positive person, like somebody who believes in people. And that's how he feels about Slav. And again, when he's saying this, like, he believes it. He thinks that Slav is headed to a nice destination. And I feel like, this team is also very much in the same way. It's a great analogy also for the Habs. It's like, there's going to be some bumps along the way, but we're headed to a great destination. We have the right tools, we have the right skills, we have the right development in place to really get there. So I think that this just makes so much sense. It's at such like an apt time where really, like Juraj Slafkovsky, he needs, his coach to kind of say a word like on his regard. Cause like, he's a really young guy. And I think that's the part that we forget, it's like, we always view things, just kind of like, from kind of year to year, when it's so important to really have the bigger picture, over the terms of these NHL careers. So I think, Martin St. Louis, he's got it completely right on this.
Yeah, and again, as we've seen year in, year out, bigger players like Juraj Slafkovsky take a lot longer to understand their muscles, understand how to adapt to the NHL. I don't want to keep using the Kotkaniemi example, but for example, like that's happening now. Now, obviously, there's different situations around Montreal and Carolina, but it's not just these guys. We've seen it over NHL history. So Marty's analogy of saying, like, look, you're on the path, you might hit a stoplight, you might miss your exit. It makes a ton of sense. There's so much to learn, so many great things, but Slafkovsky has that potential to be a huge difference maker, and we're just really glad that Coach Marty sees that potential in him. Let's move on to Lane Hutson, because there's never enough Lane Hutson talk, and man, he's having a historic week. So this stat, well, first of all, he got the player of the week again because he had a hat trick. And look, I mean, he's just the best player straight up in maybe NCAA hockey. This guy is absolutely ridiculous. Everything he does is magical. But check this out. From Byron Bader on Twitter, he hasn't updated the data for this season yet because he's currently in his D2 NHLE season in the NCAA. But he's producing in college as a D-man that, like, very, very few that have come before him. He's destroying the NCAA like Adam Fox did, like Luke Hughes did. And hey, look at both of those guys. One is one of the best young players in the NHL. The other has a Norris Trophy. He's He's getting more and more confident. By the month, this guy's going to be a real good NHLer. And if you pause, take a look, star probability, NHLer probability, higher than Adam Fox in their same draft -1, draft 0, draft +1 year. And this isn't even including his season so far. Of course, he's had a bit of injury, but when he's been playing, he's been phenomenal. Jesse, I'm really glad to see this stuff because you called it. I mean, you have said from day one, it's like, this is something Lane Hutson's never going to stop producing, and eventually you're going to have no choice but to jump on the Lane Hutson bandwagon, and it's slowly starting to happen. Analysts are like, this isn't just a fluke. This guy has been producing night in, night out, every single game, and it just feels like he really has that star potential.
It does, and it makes sense that people would feel this way because as he just continues to produce, and not just produce, but dominate, get hat tricks, everything, just take over games, game-winning goals, everything else, the more, the less rather it looks like an aberration and very much like the type of play that's here to stay. But, like, this is huge. It's so nice for people to see, right? Because like even just the other day, like I was saying this, like I didn't say month by month, but I said kind of like day by day, you have to feel like this because he just keeps doing it every time. But like, we can't underestimate like what we're saying here, Josh. Like we're hyping him up, like for sure, but this is absolutely warranted. Like not only is he getting numbers like Adam Fox, he's getting better numbers than Adam Fox.
Yep.
Like we're talking about a player in Lane Hutson that absolutely could win a Norris Trophy. Like he is that type of player. He could do this. He could be better than Adam Fox in the NHL. It's that type of player. He's playing exactly the way the game needs to be played this type of, these days with that speed, with that skill. Like for me as a competitor, I don't see like Lane Hutson getting into the NHL and being the type of guy that's happy to be on the third line. Like this guy's a competitor. He's used to the spotlight. He's used to people chanting his names. That's what he's going to want in the NHL. And I believe like he has the skills absolutely to make this happen. And day by day, he just keeps showing this isn't a fluke and, that Lane Hutson, that he's here to stay.
Yeah, and I think he's kind of been proving people wrong for weeks, if not months, if not years on end at this point. And you got to think that fuels him. He's confident, not cocky. This dude knows what to do. He thrives in the spotlight. When the shine is right on him, he knows what to do. And he's just phenomenal. He has that NHL pedigree and probably even more. Like the stuff we're seeing from him is really becoming historic at this point. So Habs fans, don't want to get you too pumped, but I think it's time to really start getting excited to see Lane Hutson very, very soon. Final topic today, there could be a trade in the works, and it'll involve the Habs and Oilers. Now, this all depends on the Oilers finding a suitable trade partner because, as I'm going to show you right now, a source has told the Hockey News that Ken Holland, the Oilers general manager, has been checking in on teams in search of a goalie. He's been working the phones for over a week now. That's all the information I have. It's in the Oilers' best interest for Holland to perform his due diligence by checking in with other teams to see what's available. And easier said than done, as we've seen, but the goaltending specifically has left a lot to be desired. The Oilers were at the bottom of the league in high danger save percentage. The Sharks, who had back-to-back games of giving up 10 goals, their goalies actually have higher save percentages than the Oilers. But Jesse, you got to think, like, the Oilers, they're definitely looking for a goalie and probably looking to ship one out as well. So you got to think if they're looking to ship out someone like Jack Campbell, maybe San Jose, where a team he can't really get much worse. Maybe Campbell can have a little bounce back for them in a low-pressure environment. You never know. Maybe San Jose decides to take a shot on that gargantuan contract. Or maybe they're just looking to bring in an extra guy to fill in a spot. But regardless of how this all goes down, you got to think that someone like Sam Montembeault, Jake Allen, or Cayden Primeau, three goalies that are on much lower contracts than someone like a Jack Campbell, two of them just being like $1 million-ish for only a year, you got to feel like those are perfect fits for Edmonton. And you got to think that Ken is calling Kent looking for a potential trade very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that all three options that the Montreal Canadiens have would be very interesting to Ken Holland and the Edmonton Oilers. Like you have to feel if you are Ken, your team's at 2-7-1 right now. You were kind of expecting to, have a completely opposite, pretty much record at this point in time. Like you have to do something to save your season. So it kind of makes sense that they'd be looking at the Montreal Canadiens. You have to feel like, Montembeault's probably not up for grabs, but you have to feel like between Jake and Allen and Cayden Primeau that maybe there would be something to be done there. Like, obviously they'd probably prefer a little bit more of the experience of Jake Allen, but Kaiden would probably be the easiest, kind of player to probably trade for at this point in time. All the same, like Jake Allen was interviewed today and he just said that it's not really, he's never been in a situation before where there's been three goalies on a team. And it's not really like an ideal situation for him.
Yeah.
And the person that is the least ideal for is really Cayden Primeau. Obviously, out of these three goalies, he's getting the least amount of time, rightfully so. But the most important thing in Cayden Primeau's hockey career right now is, you guessed it, to play hockey games, right? That's what he needs. He needs experience. So this definitely isn't the best situation for him to be in. So we kind of need to do something to address it at some point. The Edmonton Oilers kind of need to do something to address the situation on their end. So, I mean, they're definitely, obviously we're not as pressed as the Oilers are. We're lucky that we're having our goalies play well, but, it could be very tempting for the Edmonton Oilers.
I think press is a very good term. This is a team that was expecting to make the playoffs, a team that was expecting to maybe compete for a Stanley Cup. I mean, when you have McDavid and Draisaitl, that's what you want to go all in for, but the goaltending has been more than disappointing. It's been the worst in the league, and they need to do something urgently to address it. This isn't one of those situations where you can just kind of tear down and say, okay, it's not working. You have to maximize McDavid and Draisaitl. Of course, Draisaitl an impending UFA as well. So you got to do something. And if you're looking at Montreal, like we said, Jake Allen got 2 years left at a bit over $2 million. If you can find a way to get rid of Jack Campbell and bring in Jake Allen as his replacement as half the price, you'd be thrilled to be able to do that. Or maybe if they make a really nice offer for Sam Montembeault or Cayden Primeau at a 1-year price of just about $1 million, and they can find another solution in the offseason, that could work too, Jesse. It just seems like a match made in heaven, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye out because I feel like a trade could happen sooner than we think. But that'll do it for this news episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. You guys have been supporting us like crazy, and we always appreciate it. We appreciate every single one of you that's still watching at this point in the video. Thank you very much. Hit subscribe. We'd love for you too. I'm Josh Gosse, for my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.